What's good? What's good? What's good? What is good, everyone? This is DJ's Raw and Cut Truth, giving you the raw content that you deservedly need. Today, Jackson State just lost to Monroe. One of the things I'm disappointed on is I'm seeing certain fans of the SWAC or everyone else. There were a lot of folks happy that JSU lost. But before I address the crab in the barrel mentality, everything I predicted, whether Jackson State would have won or ULM would have won, came true. I pointed out one of my streams, not today's stream earlier, but a couple days ago. I pointed out that the Sun Belt has talented kickers who can hit 40 plus and 50 in key games. The ULM kicker was the MVP today for Monroe. He hit 4 field goals that were over 40 yards. I repeat, the ULM kicker hit 4 field goals that was over 40 yards, and that was game. The Jackson State kicking situation is so bad that even when Jackson State was inside of ULM territory, they would punt it instead of kicking it due to not having kickers that can hit that range. So credit to ULM for taking advantage of that. A key situation happened in that game. James Houston, who is JSU's top edge rusher, who I believe has a chance to get drafted, he was causing havoc against ULM. They couldn't block him. They got him for targeting. Got him out the game. I knew then, I said, oh my God, this may change the game. Because ULM, they didn't know what to do with James Houston. James Houston has so many pass rushing moves, it's unbelievable. And Shedeur Sanders, let me go with that. I know that's the elephant in the room. Today, expect a lot of content creators to make fun of Shedeur Sanders. Expect them to talk about how he cost them the game and he was the reason why they lost. There's a myriad of things that Jackson State as a whole could have done. Even defense, even though defense gave up only 4 field goals, defense could have played better in some phases. Just the small details. Now, defense kept JSU in the game. And what JSU showed, now if they could do this against FBS opponents, then it's going to be really hard to score on that defense that Coach Thurman has. But Shedeur Sanders, he's a freshman. He's going to make freshman mistakes. See, the problem is a lot of folks are judging him as a senior and not as a freshman with talent. When Shedeur has a time to throw the ball, good things happen. But when you have penalties happen, when you have receivers dropping, like it's right in their hands and they're dropping it, or they can't catch the ball and it's tipped out of their hands and it leads to an interception. Those things happen. Shout out to the defense, Malik Woody in the house. Defense did exactly what you need to do to win the game. They did exactly what you need to do to win the game. Jackson State on the eye test level, they were more talented than ULM. ULM had 2 weeks to prepare and did the little things right to win. Yeah, defense is definitely ahead, TV. Defense is definitely ahead, man. Even with the penalties. Look, for ULM, for them to get decent yardage to get a field goal, it was always a penalty being thrown at the right time for them. Constantly happening. TV says tough game to watch, especially video quality. ESPN, yeah, ESPN 3. I have little respect for them. If this was an SEC team, none of the technical difficulties would be happening. They know it. We know it. But let them play dumb. Let them be old media like they always be. We're going to call it out because that was a piece of crap show that I just saw. Antron Bailey says, JSU offense need to prove the run game. See, if Shadur would have had a run game against ULM, he wouldn't have to do so many things to will his team. Like, really, all their running backs need to do is get 3.5 yards a carry at least. Or 3 yards a carry. They couldn't even get 3 yards a carry in this game. TB says, I hope our tribe doesn't do this typical thing and start questioning Deion's decision to start his son as a freshman, but I think we all know it's going to come. Oh, the shines are coming today. The shines are already out right now. They're shucking and jiving right now, blaming a freshman. I know he didn't have a perfect game. I know it. But the excitement that they have, they were waiting on Shadur to not be having an A+ game. They were waiting on the shadows. And they got what they wanted. They're happy that ULM won that game. See, because they don't want Jackson State to level the playing field. They want Jackson State to be like everybody else in the SWAC and the HBCUs. So the jig was up. The ULM defense wasn't really all that. I'm going to be very honest. Big Mike is right. The ULM defense was garbage. It was a lot of self-inflicting things that the offense was doing, not concentrating. See, ULM knew that, hey, let me get physical with these receivers, and I could just do enough right there. The receivers couldn't really separate on their corners. Malik says too many turnovers for JSU. I feel like when Houston was ejected, that changed the game. It did change the game. It did change the game. The ULM offense was stonewalled. And this is why I believe we had a conversation with some people about this. They were talking about who can be drafted from JSU. I've always said two on defense. I never said offense. I've never said offense. Yeah, the ULM defense is good. The secondary is spotty. The linebackers just do what they need to do. The D line of ULM is big, athletic, better than most in the Sun Belt Conference. They're good. But there were opportunities for offense to capitalize. Defense did a good job of JSU-wise, giving them good field position, and they just never capitalized. The running game, like Big Mike stated, was a big part of it. ULM was daring JSU to run the ball. JSU has to be more creative in their run game. You can't just pass it all day and not run the ball. Even Alabama A&M, they'll use Qualls in a run. Matter of fact, he had 100+ yards back-to-back against South Carolina State and then with Bethune-Cookman, even though they're a passing team. So you do need to run the ball. Big Mike says the reason why the receivers couldn't separate was because of the running. You mean the plays that were running? Ed Houston he said thumbs down to the offensive coordinator. Yeah, I didn't like the plays. Was it me or did it feel like the OC was running too many screens? Why the hell are you doing screens when they're sniffing it out the whole time? Coach Pollock and the other brother, you got to go back in the drawing board and go with some plays. They were being too conservative with Shadur. When you play against FBS teams, you got to open that damn playbook. They were playing not to make a mistake. And what caused it to happen was they ended up making a mistake for being too conservative. TV said the only reason I watch football on Saturday night is because JSU. I hate watching football nowadays with all these penalties. Every time someone gets hit hard, it's a penalty from the SEC. Oh yeah, it is. The penalties. I told y'all that was going to happen again. You're playing at their home. Terry Bowden is coming off an emotional loss of his father, Bobby Bowden. So there was going to be a lot of sympathy calls. And he got it. He got the sympathy calls. A lot of ticky-tack calls. When JSU was getting good pressure and they make a third down stop, penalty. They call pass interference and the DBs barely even touching them. It was happening all night. But despite all that, JSU should have won this game if they would have just limit the penalties and turnovers. But again, it starts with the offensive coordinator. You got to open up the playbook. You cannot. And you got Warren Newman, Malik Woody. Let me post his comment. He said they should have used Warren Newman in the backfield like West Virginia used Tavon Austin. Brother, didn't we talk about that on the stream 2 to 3 days ago? We just mentioned that, and they never do it. They never do it. They never utilize weapons. And you see why I pointed out in the 2022 draft, and I'm sticking by it, there will only be a defensive player being drafted from JSU or having a chance in the NFL in the 2022 draft. They were trying to tell me, oh, there's somebody on offense too. I'm like, who? They can't separate, and they're dropping the football a lot. Dejon Warren and James Houston are your go-to guys on getting drafted. I repeat, in the 2022 draft, Dejon Nugget Warren and James Houston are your go-to guys of getting drafted. Because they've been consistent every time. The defense has been on the field so long, man. I don't know how they don't get gassed. They playing through tiredness. The offense is not helping them out because they're not staying on drives. The defense is just thugging it out. Most teams will just quit. Most teams would have a hissy fit and just give up a top touchdown because they was worn out by their own offense not making plays. Big Mike says defense play lights out. Shout out to the defense, man. Oh, I'm so glad you pointed out. Everything we pointed out on these streams are now. See, when I said this, I was wishing that Jackson State would have heard my stream. Shiloh Sanders got to stop trying to hit all the time. Missed tackles. Shiloh. I know you want to get the kill shot, my brother. I know it. But what did I say about doing that with these tight ends? What did I say about doing it with these tight ends? A FBS tight end or a good tight end would break off of that and get yards. Guess what happened with that scrambling freshman quarterback? Shiloh tried to go with a kill shot. Instead of wrapping him up, the quarterback did a pirouette on him and kept running. And I like Shiloh Sanders. But you got to wrap up, man. I get it. These kids, they want to be on ESPN. They want to show their friends that they making a big hit, but your team needs you. Ed Jensen said no more screenplays. Yeah, they try to do these screenplays as a security blanket. Teams are sniffing that out. Jackson State wide receivers should do what they got to do to separate from the defender and do it the right way. And it starts with offensive play calling. You know how you could get more running yards? How about using, like Malik Woody stated, Warren Newman as a split back and have them do reverses and try to get the edge on a defense. You got to be creative, man. They got the weapons. It feels like Jackson State is not utilizing all the weapons on their team. Malik Woody says, I think Antoine and Aubrey have a chance of getting drafted as well. That's true. They do have a chance. The Jackson State defense did not lose this game. They did not lose this game. You mean to tell me that ULM can only hit 4 field goals based on penalties, uh, turnovers, because of offense, and they only got 4 field goals. So they only win this game 12-7 because of 4 field goals that was hit 40 yards or more. Shout out to the freshman Herman Smith. Brother Athletic One told me he knows his. I did a stream earlier today. I think he said he knows his father. They're from San Diego. He told me Herman Smith was a dog. He is a dog. He's a freshman, and when Nugget goes and gets drafted, Herman Smith is going to be the new project to coach Prime. He was all over the place. Super athletic, 6 foot plus, looks about 6'1" almost. Good speed, good strength. He's built like a running back, but he plays DB. Their defense is going to be fun. Shout out to Coach Thurman. Remember, they were nitpicking Dennis Thurman, the Jackson State defensive coordinator, and say, oh, this wouldn't work for certain teams. This wouldn't work against the FBS. Against a Rich Rodriguez offense, his defense held that team to 12 points that were all due to field goals. If you're being very honest, if this game was played at Jackson State and Jackson State can actually just stop doing the penalties and the dumb buffoonish plays, they probably would have had only 1 field goal. And if they would have played sound on defense the whole time, it probably wouldn't be any points. I'm not saying it just because I'm rooting for Jackson State. I'm telling you what I see. CJ Holmes got burned for the last 2 games. Yes, he is. CJ Holmes is becoming the weak link in the secondary. He's a good brother. He comes from New Orleans. He's trying to make it out. I get it, and I'm rooting for him personally. But he is the player that offensive teams are pointing out because they're not going to go on the John Nugget Warren side. Again, he only gave up 1 catch, but that was due to prevent. They were trying to, it's the second half. They're trying to get the game over with. And I don't want to hear anybody blaming DeJohn Warren for that fumble. See, that fumble wouldn't have happened if the offense would have been doing their job. He was trying to make a play out of nothing. He was trying to win it for his team. And that's a damn shame with all those weapons. You got to have your special teams kind of win it. So if anybody's out there blaming Nugget, you should be ashamed. Nugget showed why he is the top corner in the FCS. And I believe coverage ability wise, DeJohn Nugget Warren is if y'all being honest, I think he's a 3rd round pick. I'm a Dallas Cowboy fan. I would love to have Nugget on my team because he could cover. And with Malik Woody, that PI call was horrible on him. That was a ticky-tack call. So Nugget showed scouts that he can cover the best, no matter if it's FBS or the top of FCS. It doesn't matter. He could play with the best. The linebackers at JSU did an excellent job, especially against the tight ends. This was not a good game by Shiloh. This is not a good game by him. A couple of runs that were added because he was trying to get the kill shot. Just wrap up, brother. Everything doesn't have to be a ESPN highlight. AP says, man, what's up with the OC? No motion, no shifts, no rollouts, no under handoffs, no running back screens, no tosses, no off-tackle runs. Horrible offensive play call. It was a bad play calling, brother. Bad play calling. Oh, also, I know a lot of people are going to want to blame Coach Prime. Coach Prime is a defensive coach, legendary legendary cornerback. He's known for defense. That's his specialty. That is his specialty. I know he's the head coach, and he'll make sure that it's all rectified. But for those who are listening, if you're a JSU fan or a hater, what Coach Prime has done is remarkable. Can you imagine if Coach Prime wasn't on this team, coaching them, recruiting, doing what he has to do? They would get blown out by ULM. And you know it, I know it, and everybody and their mama knows it. Between the Game Sports says, JSU fans, hold your head up. Holding the team to four field goals is great. Yeah, they did everything right. Offense got to take advantage of the defense helping them out. They had good field position multiple times and could have cashed it in. The offensive game plan was lethargic. But then again, when your offensive line is getting manhandled, it changes your game plan. It's your boy OZ said offensive line cost JSU the game. They did. Man, Shadur was getting hit left and right. Left and right. Hit, penalties everywhere. But the Jackson State haters, they're having a field day right now. They weren't supportive of HBCU's level in the playing field. They wanted to make fun of Jackson State because Jackson State, in their minds, was supposed to be the stepchild. Jackson State was supposed to get ran through by every SWAC and MEAC team. So they never wanted Jackson State to be great. So right now they're talking about JSU. They're going to say Deion Sanders, Coach Prime can't coach, even though his defense held that team to 4 field goals, and really due to penalties and turnovers. So 4 turnovers and a bunch of penalties led to 4 field goals. You take those away, that's a shutout. But you want to go in here, and I'm talking to all the Jackson State haters and shines out there. You want to go in here and talk shit about Coach Prime. What is your favorite school doing? Are they helping our people? Are they trying to elevate this game? What are they doing? This ULM to me is the best team on the schedule. They're bigger than every other team. Don't tell me Alabama A&M is bigger and better and faster than ULM, because that is a lie. That is a lie. That's exactly what they are, M. Deion's staff reminds me of Rex Ryan's career as a head coach. Incredible defense, but always struggling on offense. Well, most of those coaches, Coach Weeks, Dennis Thurman, they came from Rex Ryan coaching tree. So that analogy is so spot on, brother. James Anderson says, we did not help the defense, not at all. Did not help the defense at all. All Jackson State has to do is utilize the weapons, man. You don't have to score 50 points every team. But this loss was the best thing for Jackson State. Now they're going to be pissed off, and they're going to take it out on every team. They're going to, because these kids, they look at YouTube. They look at YouTube and they look and see who's talking shit. And they're going to take this personal. It's your boy OZ said this was a good loss. They can only learn and get better. Exactly. If you're a JSU fan, you got to be proud of your team, man. You mean to tell me you lose a game by doing everything right? Controversial penalties, key players getting ejected, and really because of your offense not doing what they should do, you lose a game by 4 field goals. You don't need to keep your head down for any other reason. Big Mike says they left tons of money on the field tonight. They did, man. Jeffrey D. Harris says the haters have haters. Exactly. K. Loftus said this game is going to make you. Anthony Williams says for a freshman, Lil Sanders is going to be okay at the Q. The team will be fine. Future is very bright. I'm a Texas Southern alum. See, this is what happens when you're not hating. Shout out to Anthony Williams. And Texas Southern has a talented quarterback. If he had the skill players around him to really move that ball, he would put up a lot of numbers right now because he has a cannon for an arm. In Between the Game Sports said that for the love of God, NCAA needs to get rid of targeting rule, changes the flow of the game every time. I hate the rule, man. Let these kids play. K. Loftus said this game will make JSU stronger. I feel that way. Malik Woody points out that the offensive line has Shadir looking like Deshaun Watson. I still have JSU winning the SWAC. Running every time. Running. Shadir was running for his life in this game. Yeah, Darlene, if they scored that touchdown, we wouldn't be talking about – we wouldn't have a post game like this right now. Spiritual Street said the refs did a great job. They were very fair. They made great calls, usually home refs. I don't know about that. They made a bunch of ticky-tack calls. I don't think – this is what I've seen. I don't think ULM would have had 4 field goals if they wouldn't call those buffoon penalties. Alvarez Allen says we need to establish the run game immediately. If you can't get a run game going, you just might as well air it out. But at least be creative. It's your boy OZ says you have to be creative. JSU kept running the same plays over and over. I did see that. This game would have been a shutout if it wasn't for the flags. Now, they're going to call us haters, bro. They're going to call us haters. I don't think they would have scored a touchdown or had any points if the penalties weren't so lopsided. Ed Houston says the offensive play calling must improve immediately. Absolutely. Right, Big Mike, one more touchdown. You mean to tell me, if I'm an offensive play caller, you mean to tell me I just need 2 touchdowns if we win the game? You know how many teams would love that? That's how good this JSU defense is. 2 touchdowns could win you a game if you're JSU. No turnovers, no penalties. 2 touchdowns can win you a game. This is how talented that JSU defense is. And the reason why they gave up 16 against Tennessee State was due to them playing a bunch of backups. And I think because Coach Prime is cool with Eddie George, he didn't want to run up the score. So that's what I think. TB says, I really think Coach Prime should be more aggressive once you pass the 50-yard line, 4th down. Something they could take a look at. He said, was that a horse collar? Actually, kind of. Usually teams would have let that go, but I knew they were going to call it. They've been calling everything all game, so the game was not fair. Big Mike says QB1 played a hell of a game. He just needs a running game. I'll add on top of that, if Shadir would have had a running game and not having to do everything and running for his life, he wouldn't have thrown that interception. There would be no need. Jackson State's doing this with no running game. That's incredible. Again, we're not trying to say that Shadir has no problems to work on. Of course he does. He's a freshman. But I'm not going to bully him on social media. He's a freshman. He'll learn. The problems of the Jackson State offense is beyond QB1. Receivers, catch the ball, brothers. Catch the ball. And there's a reason why I did not say somebody that's on that Jackson State receiving core. Like they were telling me, oh, Jackson State's going to have some players in the offense drafted in 2022. And I was like, where? I know on defense they are. They dropping footballs. They're not getting enough separation. I'm not seeing it. They'll be good in the SWAC. But to get to the NFL out of the SWAC, you not only got to dominate the SWAC, but you got to dominate out of conference teams. K. Lofton says, I'm a Southern grad, and I believe JSU's going undefeated in the SWAC. Yeah, that could happen. I would not be surprised. S. Cole says, defense can't win the game alone. Offense has to improve the ball. Lots of predictable play calls. They left so many points on the board. Those turnovers cost them. Exactly. Special teams basically won the game. Oh, it did. Pickett hits the hole. Man, there was a player that I wanted them to play in this game, J.D. Martin. And shout out to Mr. Moore, Nuggets' father. He told everybody in the chat who needs to be playing. And guess what? He was right. Number 5, Abdul Malik McClain, he's a baller. He's a baller. I know he had that penalty, but when he came in the game for because remember he came back from injury. When he came in the game for James Houston, I see why. I've been hearing some good things about him. He is a monster, man. ULM could not block that brother. And could you imagine if he was on the other side as well as James Houston? This defense could be even better than what it is now. You guys saw the talent of Abdul Malik McClain, the transfer from USC. Again, take away the penalty that he made. He was in that backfield all night. But J.D. Martin needs to be the star. Tyson Alexander. Before I could go with J.D. Martin, Tyson Alexander, brother, please heal up. Tyson Alexander, when he gets healthy, he will be the starter because he's explosive. Malik Woody said Jocelyn Air played a solid game. That fumble was costly. He had a solid game, but he didn't have a good game. That's the difference. That was the first true road game. Y'all got to remember that. Jackson State hasn't even played a home game yet. Look at all this adversity, man. Jackson State been on the road every single time. Ain't even played a home game. But I bet y'all one thing. If JSU would have won this game, nobody would have gave them credit. They would have said that ULM is some sorry FBS team, and that doesn't count. JSU should run more plays for the tight end. Oh, yeah, I've been talking about it, brother. The kicker in the running game, that changes things. If you're a JSU offensive staff, what do you do to fix your problems? Number 1, stop doing too many screens. Number 2, use the talent you have. Stop being predictable. If I can predict the play that is coming, that's a problem. And I'm not even a coach. James Anderson says, I've seen good things from the offense tonight, but we got to help the defense. Go JSU. Got to help that defense, man. Pickett looking like roly-poly-oly out there, hitting the hole slow. And I hate to do that to the brother, but, man, it was bad. Pickett's good at catching the ball off the backfield. I'll give him that. But, man, the highlights I've seen from him at Liberty, it doesn't look the same. I don't know if he had an injury or what, but he doesn't hit the hole the same. Ed Houston with the comment of the day, catch the ball, please. Jackson State probably would have had 4 touchdowns in this game if the receivers could catch the ball. And if they didn't get 4 touchdowns, it would have been at least 21 points if they could catch the ball. And when you catch the ball, Hold the ball. Stop fumbling the ball. Mr. Affirmative, yeah, they do need a 12 personnel set. Mike James Boxer says they dropped a lot of passes in the FAMU game. They did too. If you want to make the NFL, you better know how to catch. Like there's only a few receivers who are not great catchers that make it in the NFL, but they run a 4.2 plus. Like Ted Ginn Jr., he's not known for being a good catcher, but he runs a 4.26, so you can get away with that. But Jackson State doesn't have that on their team. That you could run a 4.2 and you may drop some passes, but you'll get one that would be for 70 yards. They don't have that right now. Yeah, receivers getting too cute, not getting the tough yards, man. There's too many pass plays because the running game is just it's pathetic. You can't really do much with this running game, man. You can't do much, man. But JSU, man. JSU. Y'all got to still believe. Y'all got to believe, my brothers and sisters. Because the naysayers, the haters, the shines, they want you to fail so bad, man. They don't want you to change everything. They want the traditionalists. That's really who hates on Jackson State. The traditionalists, they want everything the same. They don't want new jerseys for the players. They don't even want them to have the names on their backs. They're fighting every day to slow down Coach Prime. This was their goal. And right now, they're out here cheering on ULM. They're in the message boards right now. They're talking trash about the players. They were out there making fun of Nugget because he fumbled. He was trying to make a damn play for his team. And they think that's cute. When it's all said and done, when they see these players get drafted, when they see DeJohn Nugget Warren gets drafted, when they see James Houston gets drafted, when they see Jackson State have a winning record in the SWAC, they won't be laughing no more. And yes, they could have won this game. We all wanted them to win it. But right now, the most important part is to work on their weaknesses. Offense, no penalties, catch the ball, and better play calling. Stop being screen dependent, I call it. It's not working and teams are figuring it out. Defense. All defense really has to do is Shiloh, wrap up, don't do the kill shot every time. That's about it. CJ Holmes, you got to work on that coverage, my brother. The offenses are picking you out. You got to improve on that. Back-to-back weeks, CJ Holmes is what you call the usual suspect. They're trying to attack him. Ed says, D.I. Love, we just went out like Willie Lump due to inadequate offensive coordination. That's amazing. Bad play calls on offense and could have won the game. This how I try to tell these SWAC foes, man, this defense is nothing to play with. And that ULM offensive line is big as hell. I mean, that's a big team, man. Very big team. Shout out to Coach Terry Bowden. He did good things at Akron. Akron was losing for so long. Terry Bowden got there and made them respectable because Akron used to be a last place FBS team before he even got there. I know he's going to do his thing at ULM. They just got to give him time. Let him get his players. But ULM plays in a tough Sun Belt conference. So it's going to be a dogfight. Malik Woody says the traditionalists and the old SWAC want JSU to fail. We got to still believe. I believe in JSU will rise above all haters. That's what it's all about, man. Y'all got to rise above the hate, man. Because like my father used to say, not all skin folk is kinfolk. I'm going to repeat that for the people in the back. Not all skin folk is kinfolk. They were waiting on Jackson State to. They were lurking on Jackson State to lose, and they propping up other SWAC teams who had close games to other SWAC teams. Didn't even put. I don't think Alabama A&M doesn't even have an FBS team on their schedule. Trust me, they could have had a money game against Alabama. You think they're gonna do that? Hell no. There's nothing against Alabama A&M. They have a great offense, great quarterback. But I'm just giving examples. The old SWAC, man, the traditionalists, they're out to get Jackson State. Just look how they acted, man. Jackson State almost beat an FBS team. First time, it would have been the first time since the 70s. And now they're in the comment sections, the chat boards, buffooning it up. But like I stated on many times, if this was Southern or anybody in the SWAC, I would have done the same thing and cheered them on because I know it's bigger than me, bigger than my favorite school and everything else. Now, I get it. You can root against Jackson State when they play against your team. It's a rival or a much needed game. I get that. But what I've seen today, I'm disappointed. And I want to thank all the brothers and sisters who are not thinking like that. Big Mike says this game is a clarion call to all 4 and 5 stars. You will sit on the bench for Power 5 to come and play. Not all loss is bland. Yeah, man. Jackson State recruits. If I'm looking at Jackson State, if I'm a 4-star, even a 5-star, their defense is a blueprint to get you in the league. Look at Herman Smith. Herman Smith was a high 3-star. His stock is going up as a freshman from what I've seen. He went out there. He looks the part. So when Dejon Nugget Warren goes to the NFL, Jackson State's still going to be it's not going to lose much. The only thing they'll lose is experience. This is what going to Jackson State brings you. You get coached by Dennis Thurman, who was a defensive coordinator, and Jeff Weeks, who's a defensive line coach, NFL pedigree, Coach Sanders coaching you as a DB. Man, it's a blessing. I wish I was cold at DB. I wish Coach Prom was around years ago as a head coach. And I wish I was a DB that was cold like that. Because I would definitely commit. I don't care if I'm a 4 or 5-star. I don't care if Alabama or Florida State. I would do it. M. Dot says, call me crazy, but if I'm JSU offensive staff, I'm using Newman as a running back in packages. He's quick as like Le'Veon Bell. I would do it. Got nothing to lose. Defense is doing this job. As Cole said, this game reminds me of the part of football movie when they have a setback. Maybe they get too comfortable. Maybe it's supposed to happen to tighten them up. They had an undefeated season. Yeah, this loss was a good thing for the team. It's a great thing for the team because guess what's happening right now? Coach Prom is yelling at the offensive coordinator. He ain't doing it in public because he's a stand-up brother. But he's yelling at the offensive coordinator. Shadir was running for his life, man. Like they could make plays that are quicker. I'm not talking about screens. You don't have to do a screen to do that. Terrence Hunter says, how could the ref rule a fumble and an incomplete pass, but one signal a touchdown return? I saw that too. I did not tell you Jackson State ain't getting no favorable calls at all. That's just how it is, man. CJ Holmes doesn't make enough breaks on the ball. He could have at least had 2 picks each game if he would have just had his head turned around and see the ball. Man, CJ Holmes he had a chance to add some stats. Cedric Fleming says Jackson State's defense very impressive in my opinion. Looked like an FBS defense. ULM scored a touchdown on Kentucky. No touchdowns on the Jackson State defense. Wow. Y'all see that? What was the score against? So, ULM scored 2 touchdowns because I watched that game against Kentucky, a SEC defense. They couldn't score 2 touchdowns on Jackson State. All their field goals came due to a bad play here and there, penalties and turnovers by Jackson State. This is how good the Jackson State defense is. I tried to tell them. They didn't want to listen to me. They said it was all cap. They said, you're just saying this because you're just rooting for Coach Prime. I said, hell no. I'm saying this shit because I see it on film. One of these days, y'all gotta give them props, man. Marvin Lomax says, I would say the defense held their own. ULM did not get in the end zone. They had 3 field goals over 45 yards. Talk to them. Special teams won them the game. I mean, that one field goal kick a 48-yarder on the far right. That's difficult, man. I think 2 of them around that range. Regal says, it's bad when the best run from our offense came from a fumble out of the tight end pickup. Yeah. Big Mike says Malik needs to start over Hampton. Oh boy, you open up a can of worms, man. They need to put QB1 under center to help the run game. That may need to happen. I'm being very honest with y'all when I'm saying this. I'm at a point where I don't really care what the Jackson State offense is. If they could get a clean drive and 2 touchdowns, I would love them to get more. But if they don't turn over the ball and start the drives fast, I don't care if they ran a wishbone at this point. Put some points on the board. Do something. Do something, man. And yes, I was exaggerating when I said I don't care if it's a wishbone, but y'all see what I'm talking about. Marvin Lomax said, yeah, it was 2. No, Kentucky beat them 40. Kentucky beat ULM. It was 44. It was 43-14. I watched the game. ULM scored 2 touchdowns. Jamar Harris said refs made a bad calls, the fumble and the pass interference on 4. Yeah, that was to be expected. John No Sports says, yes, QB under center, run the ball. As Coach and Bowden sudden favorite to win. His dad was an icon. JSU fell for the trap. Every play had a review. Man, that was the longest game of my life. There were so many reviews and penalties, man. I was like, I see it, man. The jig is up, man. The jig is up. But look at the crap y'all seeing on social media, man. Y'all really hate Jackson State like this, man. That crab in the barrel mentality, brothers and sisters. I'm sitting back and I'm thinking, you know what? I'm glad this happened because I want to see who really believes. I want to see who really believes in JSU's future and not just riding the wave because it's the hot thing you're seeing on the media. My belief doesn't change. I know what Jackson State could turn into, especially when things get rectified. But the question is, do you believe? Or are you going to fall into the trap of one loss? It changes your whole perspective. So what Coach Prime has to do, and I know he's doing it right now, get the troops together, the coaches, evaluate, and say what works and what doesn't. But I'm excited. Shout out to Coach Prime for changing the game, man. Shout out to the players for playing hard. Shout out to Shadir. I know he had a turnover. Shout out for Shadir for trying to make a play when there were no good blocks in the game. Play calling horrible. Shout out to Dejon Warren for trying to make a play and trying to give it his all. Jackson State's going to be just fine. But shout out to the subs who show love to new media. We're about authenticity and building with brothers and sisters. And the mission never changes. Make sure to share the video to Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, like, subscribe. And Jackson State gonna be just fine, man. Don't worry about it. This loss is gonna be a teaching lesson. This is DJ's Raw Uncut Truth, giving you the raw, the raw content that you deservedly need. And I'm out.